When Steel talks, everybody listens.
When Steel Talks is very, very pleased to have in studios with us today Mr. Neville Jules, one of the most important and influential figures in the world of the steel pan. You're legendary, you're a pioneer, innovator, a noted leader, and also you're the founder and the former captain of Trinidad All Stars. Welcome, Mr. Jules, and once again, it's good to have you here on When Steel Talks.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. It's my privilege to come and give you guys whatever information I can about my experience in the steel band.
A good place to start then would be, tell us, what was the year you got started in pan?
Well, let me go back just a little before that. Because I used to live on the hill of Laventille, we had desperados. And in those days there was no desperados, there were no steel bands, it was bamboo, tambo bamboo. And I was a little boy, around the age of 7 or 8. I remember when the tambo bamboo would come on the streets for Christmas and for Carnival. We would follow the bands, the tambo bamboo band. Of course, they were singing and beating up the bottle with the water and spoon and stuff like that. Well, when they discarded those bamboos, like after the Carnival or after Christmas season, we, the little boys in the neighborhood, will use those discarded bamboo and try to do the same thing that the elders were doing. And it's there it really got started with me, And I remember leaving the hill of Laventille and went down in Mango Rose to live. That's at the corner of Duke, Piccadilly Street, near Nelson Street. And it's there where I first heard the steel drum. I was in the yard, a place called Mango Rose, and we were playing, and I heard this pan playing in the distance, So I walked out and I came out to Piccadilly Street, and I followed the sound of it. It was in the river, Heliard, right where All Stars is now. But in those days, it was just a hollow. And they were beating the because it was coming near to the Carnival time. So I stood up on Piccadilly Street, looked over the river, and I saw some men playing there. One of the persons who were playing there was a friend of mine who I knew up on the hill. Because he had left and came down to the city before me. So I stood up there and I listened to them, and then I went back, into Marlborough where I was playing. And that was it. It was not until some years went by and I started, I was in the Heliard. I was playing in Heliard with fisheye. In those days, this was like after during the war. They stopped all the steel bands or any bands on the street. No parading at all. And the guys who were in Heliard, they stopped coming to Heliard and hanging out as they usually used to do. So the younger fellas like Fisher and myself, we was in the yard there. Whatever old discarded drum that they left, we would play them. There was a guy named Hamel. We call him Big Head Hamel. Hamel is really the link you can see between the old Heliard guys and Trinidad All Stars. Which means that he was the youngest guy in Heliard. So when all these older guys left, he stayed because he was living right nearby. He was at that time he was about like 19 years old. I was no more than maybe about 13 and something like that. And we started tuning some pans. I looked at him and we started tuning some pans. In those days, still there was no song being played on the pan, just written. Yeah, no songs were being played. And After a while, we left Hilliard and we went closer to the Salvation Army, where it is on Charlotte Street right now. That's where Fisher used to live, and there we stayed there and we did some tuning, and all of that I did started in that yard. As a matter of fact, some people mistakenly just call that yard Hilliard. You know, and
Where the Salvation Army is?
next door, right?
Next door to
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's there where I first started
Tuning and really
tuning, yeah, you know, getting into it. You know. But my first thing that I tuned was apparently they called it tenor kettle. Still no song was playing. And I heard this guy at Christmas season, Ziggly, playing a tenor kettle. At that time, you had the ping pong pan with, let's say, 3 or 4 notes that you hold in your hand like this, and you play. But the tenor kettle was played on the shoulder, right? So you have your ball hole and you have 2 straps, and on the shoulder here, there's the face of the drum here, and you're playing like this. That's tenor kettle. So when I heard him playing it, I like the way it sounded. So I asked him, no, may I beat? He said no. So the next day,
You'll make your own.
yeah, the next day I went, well, in those days too, to get the type of drums that we needed, we used to go like all in Woodbrook, any place, and we'd see any good garbage cans, we would steal it. So I went and I get a pan and I tuned one like what he had. And that was what I used to play at first. Then I made a 4-note pan that could have played 2 songs, 2 choruses. But even before that, when I was playing the tenor kettle, and even when the other pan players in other bands also play any rhythms, like the public used to make up something as a song to go with it. Because for instance they might be playing pam 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 pam, something like that. And there was a very popular movie by the name of This Gun for Hire. The star in that was Alan Ladd. And they started singing Alan Ladd, Alan Ladd, Alan Ladd, This Gun for Hire, you know, trying to bring something close to it. So at least that's the way it started, even with the tenor kettle. I would be playing and playing certain things, and they would sing something to it. Right. Then we had, well, in those days too, we used to go all over the hills, all over Laventille. We'd go like Gonzales, John at night. The police would come with the van, raid the players, take the instruments, who they hold, they would arrest them and stuff like that, you know. Because in those days, you didn't have the amount of radios playing there, because very few people had radios in those days. The most popular radio that they had for a poor person was what they call rediffusion on the wall, you know.
About what year approximately are we talking? Just a
40s. This is around 1940. This is what I told you before. Time.
It's all right. It's in the 40s. You know? That's good enough.
Yeah.
And this will be after the war.
This is during the war.
During the war.
During
the war, you were still able to go play, but at the risk of the cops following you guys. All right.
Because I remember also that as a boy, I wanted us to play with Bad Behavior. This is the same Hilliard steel band. They had a sailor band called, they call it Bad Behavior. And they would come out in a clean sailor suit. But time 2, 3 o'clock and they say, roll, Bad Behavior, roll, you got to roll. If you don't roll, you're going to throw on the ground and nasty up. And I had regretted not playing that year. So the following year I said, I have to play that This time I'm only about 14 or 15 years old, you know. And I did play. And that was the last year, the year I played was the last year carnival they had, you know, during the war. They said no more bands on the street. The following year, bands came out and the police raided them. You know, a lot of guys got locked up and stuff like that. So we're talking here now, is, you know, like 44, going to 45. We had ended the war with the over era. And they allowed the bands and people to parade on the streets. And you know, they were happy singing songs and whatnot. And we paraded for about 3 days, all told. People were singing, you know, 4 years and 8 months we ain't playing no mass, whole day, whole night, we go play the, and stuff like that. And come VJ Day. Well, between VE and VJ, I had made this 4-note band I spoke about before. I could play 2 songs. One was You Want to Come Kill Me, Calypso by Lion, and Do Re Mi, one by Radio. Just 2 little short things. And when we were parading on the street for VJ, our band was the only band that was playing a song. And I gave that band to Fisheye to play.
What was the name of the band at that point?
At that point it was Second Fiddle. That's the name of the band that Heliad had.
Okay.
As we took over, we carried the name
Second Fiddle.
So he was playing this, you know, like there was a guy who was in Heliad at the time. When we were playing, after they leave, he came in the band for the carnival, you know, and he was like conducting. So every time he reached by a corner, or every now and again, he would stop the band, you know, and he would have to try play the do re mi color. So pam 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 pam, and we start playing. But the majority of the band is still playing rhythm. His band was the only one.
It was tune.
And it went on like that. And after VJ, between VJ and the first carnival after the war, which was in 1946, because VJ was in 1945, somewhere I think around October or whatever, as the talk spread, a lot of bands were playing songs on the band.
So it was a simultaneous explosion of people beginning to tune.
Yeah, you see, because it was a big thing, you know, because like people would say, boy, you didn't hear that a fellow was playing so and so and so on the band? You know, it was a big thing. Somebody played Murder Little everybody just said
it was actually a tune in addition to the rhythm.
It was a big deal, you know. And it's there, after that, you get guys like Spree Simon, you know, because he had a band made, as what I was told, because Spree went to the Guardian at one time and claimed that he was the first man to play a song on a band, which is not true. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people used to meet me and ask me that. Although some of them, they may be almost sure that he wasn't. They wanted to get confirmation from somebody who knew. So when I tell them no, they say, I knew that. I knew he wasn't the first person. And I'm going to say, I don't want to claim that I was the first person. Because, these things are hard to prove. It could have been anybody. Anyhow, he went and he said that. But he was not the first person. From there, the pan caught on. Everybody was, trying to tune a pan, trying to get as much notes in a pan or whatever. And this is where it all started, because it started it caught on like wildfire. You would hear, if somebody play a song someplace, everybody talking, this guy plays so and so and so and so. And this is the way it was in the beginning.
When Steel talks,
Who are some of the
everybody
important
listens.
people in your mind, people like Fisheye, etc., who were in the early world of Pan, and what were their respective contributions to the best of, your knowledge, your recollection?
Right. In the early days, you have to call Eddie Mine, because Eddie is the guy that when we had the pan, we sink the bottom out and make some dents for the notes. Eddie sink it in and groove it. So you have to mention Eddie earlier. So you have to say guys like Eddie. Fisheye, really he was there at the time when the thing was taking place and he took part, but he never really personally contributed anything. I mean, like to say, make a pan or something. He was just there playing. And as a matter of fact, he played mainly all what I showed him. Because he was Fisheye is the kind of a person, like if he walk into a crowd of people, from the time he walk in, everybody they would know that it's Fisheye. We stand out, he just do things, in a kind of a way that, So musically, he didn't have that type of talent to do these kind of things. He tried tuning and things, but he was never good in tuning. Playing, he was mediocre and things like that.
Anybody else then except?
Well, yeah, they had guys from down in the West, Sonny Rhodes, and other guys that have the Bonaparte brothers from down in the South, Library. You had tuners from Casablanca. I think there was a guy named Croppy. You had Fillmore Boots Davison. All these guys used to tune,
So the Bonaparte brothers and Sonny Roach, they were tuners as well, or another?
Tuners and players. These guys were tuners and players. Like Ellie, he was a tuner and player. I was a tuner and player. There were quite a few people.
You mentioned a couple of people in Helyard. Who were some of the main people before Helyard as it was previously disbanded?
Like in the early days?
In the early days, yeah.
Alright, you had the guy who was the captain, his name was Sajieta. You had a guy named Shul. You had one named Teki. You had the Brassy brothers, and Eric Stowe, Carlton Stowe. Those were three brothers. The same big head, his name is Hamid. You had a guy named Wajanks. We call him Waj. Or Bipam. This was someone Elias's name that he carried. So it was quite a few of these guys. And these were, at the time, these were young men, and they're not working. Some of them might be working, but they used to hang out in the river in Helyard. They gamble. They do a lot of wrestling and stuff like that.
And they would also play.
Yeah. But they had more playing time, like in the bamboo and a little
the rhythm.
into the pan,
Is it more accurate to say that Helyard or Second Fiddle was the forerunner of Trinidad All Stars?
Well, you'd have to say Helyard really, though the only person from Helyard who really contributed a very little was Hamil. Because like I said, Hamil was the person who stayed after these guys stopped coming to the yard. And the younger boys like Fisher and myself and others, we entered and we sort of took over. He stayed, so he came like the head man to us. Whatever he said to do, we did. But even at a certain time, he lost interest. So we went up by Fisher, and then we started to do our thing by ourselves. We changed the name for the first
When Steel talks,
after
everybody listens.
1946.
Yeah, but not to
Trinidad All Stars.
Trinidad All Stars. I think that's what it was. Cross of Lorraine.
Cross of Lorraine?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the name. Well, Fisher was the captain at the time. And that was the name we gave the band. Then we had a falling out with Fisheye because we didn't like the way how he was captaining the band, and we decided to split. And like I said before, Fisheye, he didn't really have the talent to tune or to arrange or anything like that. So all the guys came with me. So we went a little lower down Charlotte Street, and he had nobody. He ended up joining Inventors Steel Band. You know, so you have to say second fiddle, first cross coloring, and then after when we leave, we call it the band All Stars, Trinidad All Stars.
Do you remember approximately when that was? When it
This
became
is
Trinidad All Stars?
This is in this. Well, I think this is the should be 46. 46.
A lot happened in 46.
Yeah, it's either 46 or 47, but I'm trying to remember.
All right.
Because I think it could be 46 or 47.
Let's touch base on you for a little bit. Did you ever at any point take up any formal musical training, or just as you went?
No, I have no formal musical training. I cannot read music. I could read. For me to read music is like a child starting off in the first grade.
Okay, what are some of the musical influences, you know, that played a great deal in molding you as the arranger, as a musical connoisseur, etc.?
You know, as a boy, I started like music. I remember as a little fella, my mother had a little wooden chair in the house, and I used to be beating that almost every day. You know, or drumming, doing all kind of drumming on it. In those days too, there were a lot of shango. My sister used to take me to the shango tent, and I would hear them singing, you know, I could have played at least all three of the drums, see. Congo, the Omele, and the big drum, you know. And, you know, I had liked music. So when we started, the very first tune we played in a competition for Carnival, the first Carnival after the war, I gave Fisher the lieutenant and I said, you play this, I will play this. And so it started. And it just, you know, I just keep trying, and that was it.
Tell us a bit about the bomb tunes, you know, that you're famous for, and also why is it that All Stars chose at some points to practice them in secrecy? What's the history behind that?
Right. Well, in the early days, when we was trying to make a name for ourselves, the popular band, one of the most popular band in those days was Inventors. If it's Carnival time or if it's Discovery time when the bands will parade on the street, whenever Inventors come into the city, let's say they come up like Green Corner into Park Street, down Charlotte Street, whenever they circle and they're going back to Woodbrook, is everybody going with them? So we decided, look, something have to be done, you know. So we would learn something, try to make it sound good. And then I would have a couple of guys going down Park Street, all by Green Corner, looking for invaders to see where they're coming, you know, and we would try to meet them someplace and play either behind them or while the two bands passing like that, so the crowd could hear, you know. And this is where it started. And it became something like a musical jewel every year. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to surprise them. And I'm going to play something, I'm going to practice something very soft. Because we were practicing in the open. And you know, men would pass on the bicycle and listen and say, boy, I hear they're doing this and they're doing that. And this is the way it started.
You have been given credit for introducing the bass. If you agree with that, you know, what was the impetus? What made you go to that?
Well, the bass, the first thing I did was what they call the tune boom. The tune boom is a biscuit drum that Bermudas and Sunrise used to sell the biscuits in when they go into the shops in the parlor. I got the idea from a group of men that was going around playing. They had a guitar and they were singing Shack Shack, and they had this box that the guy used to sit down on, but there was a hole right by his feet there. And there were 3 pieces of springs cut at different lengths. And while they were singing, he would pull in the spring and you would hear boom, bing, boom. No, it wasn't anything musical, but he was just imitating a bass. And he was doing that. So I listened to him, I looked at it, I said, okay. So I went and I take the biscuit drum and I put in notes in it. We called it a tune bone. And we did that. I remember the year, it was around, I think it was 1950. We went down in Inventors with it at Christmas time. Everybody down there, like, they was in shock because they hear this thing, you know? Yeah.
Were there any musical notes on it at that point?
Yes, that's right, yeah. That's right. So the following year now, the following carnival, there was a band named Cats and Jam. They came in town, and if we had about 4, they had about 10 with 2 clubs. You understand? And this is really so then I said, look, but the tune bone now, it was the note was too light, it was too high. So I said, you know what, I've got to get something a little heavier. So we had a big caustic drum we used to call Paul Robeson, which we used to play it the same way like how the pan around the neck, we play it now, boom, 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 boom. So I took that and I put in 3 notes in it. 3 notes that they could play musically, you know. And there's where the bass started off. As a matter of fact, when we did that, all the bands from, you know, Despas, Tokyo, we used to go on the street with it. Fillmore Boots Davison from Singo, he used to be bending down like this, listening to hear what was being played, you know. And from the time I do that, go on because all these other guys could tune. The same thing with the guitar pan. I did the guitar pan, but I did not name it the guitar pan. The name was the Quattro pan. The reason for that was at Christmas time, I was walking with a friend and I heard a parang band. Right in the street there, between Henry and Charles Street. And I stood up and I listened to them and I heard this Spanish guy strumming the Quattro. So I'm going to make a Quattro pan. Now, whenever I doing these things, the guys around the band will go and talk. I said, we're coming on the road with this and with that. So when we go on the road now,
you find quite a few others with the same idea. They come in to listen now, to hear what I'm doing and see, you know. So we went on the road because this is like we're taking chances, as I said before, we're going up all on the hills. About a few days later on, Fillmore Boots Davison came with the guitar pan. But lo and behold, was the same notes I had playing the same way, and he called it the guitar pan, you know. So let me ask you this, is it historically accurate then? Can we say that Neville Jules is the person who introduced both the bass pan and the guitar pan? It was fully known as a Quattro pan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
I make sure to say that for the record.
Because it's like you're calling the pan a different name, but the notes are the same and you're playing the same as the Quattro pan. So this guy just looking for a name for himself. You see?
Interesting.
And he had never done anything at all other than, you know, trying to claim that. I had made a pan called I called it the trombone pan. It played for about 2 years and then I discarded it.
You came back again.
Yeah.
With some other name.
Yeah, I was working on the double pan before anybody had the double pan.
Are you talking about the double second? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And I made the 2 pans, and I said, well, I gotta get some stands for it. So the guy said, man, look, just make one. You get one stand with a pole. You'll bore some hole on this side of the drum, bore a hole on that side. You have a bolt running across, and you bolt it up from the inside. You know, it's one pole. So you bolt it up from on the inside now. And I did that. But when I did it now, on the outside where there was no support, both pans on the end was sagging like this. So when they put the notes on the end on the outside, it sounded alright. But where the bolt was, where it tightened there in the skirt, those notes changed. So I took it and I put it aside. Within about 2 or 3 weeks, somebody made a double pan.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What did the trombone pan come back as?
It didn't come back.
Oh, it didn't come back. All right.
It didn't come back. I also did the grande.
Okay.
We played the grande for a few years, you know. But then I scrapped the grande because they couldn't play the way how I wanted it to be played. You see, the grande I wanted to imitate the tenor kettle, the things that Ziggly and I were playing. But the different rhythms, and some of them kind of intricate, and you had to weave it between the chords. It was kind of difficult for them, you know. And they were fumbling and stumbling while they was going through with the playing, you know.
When still
and after
talks,
I played for
everybody
a little while, I
listens.
just discarded it.
Panmen, very hard bunch to keep together, headstrong, quote-unquote rebellious in those years, but you were known as a disciplinarian and you kept them in line.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, no, the band was, we were, you know, playing fairly good. You know, we were doing things that other bands, we were a step ahead of some of the bands. And then the guys that we had loved the band. And they had a kind of a love and a respect for me.
And it takes care of that.
Because, for instance, we had 2 guys in the band who, it was not easy. One is name was Jeff, the other one Sarge. These guys making prisoners no joke to them. For instance, Sarge was in a fight with some guys that used to hang out with Boys He Sing. I don't know if you ever heard about Boys He Sing? But these people wasn't easy neither. And the guy had a hand grenade to blow up Sarge. I think what they said is that his brother, the guy brother, Helonte, trying to prevent him from throwing the hand
releasing the pin.
But it went off. He lost both hands. The fellow lost both hands. But you see, Sarge was meeting these guys one by one and cutting them up and doing things like that. Then Jeff, now he was a guy, you know, quick temper, quick to hit you and stuff like that. And when Sarge was, let's say, incarcerated, it so happened that Jeff was with his girlfriend. So when he came out of prison now, he threw them like 2 birds. So we went the band, we were on the road at Carnival, and somebody said, look, like Jeff and Sarge want to fight. So yeah, it's alright. So I go and I call Jeff, I call Sarge, I got 2 pieces of iron, and I gave him one. I gave Sarge one, I gave both of them iron each. And I had one, I said, let's play. And that was it. They play and nothing came off of it. So it was, you know,
some diplomacy, some respect,
yeah,
some love for the instrument, the combination of everything.
You see, when in those days to when somebody come to join the band, you tell you up front what you could do and what you cannot do. For instance, you cannot go by another Steelpan and listen to the band, because these things just start a friction. You know, we're telling you point blank, first year people do not get paid. So if after Carnival you don't get any money, you know already that you're not supposed to get any money. That don't say you wouldn't get, but you know that up front. You know, and then everybody was like one, you know.
So there was actually a time that the band players could have gotten some form of payment then?
Yeah, you see, because if the person attend the rehearsals regularly and they do the things that they should do, they will get money. You know, at times older players do things and they get fined and they get no money. You see, because if we have a certain time to start rehearsals, you know that time. Whenever you come out later than that, you have to have a good reason, because we have a man by the door with a book, taking the name and finding it one time.
Roll call.
Yeah, from time you come, all right, so and so and so, you're later, so and so and so, you know you get fined.
Discipline. Jerry Jamet was All Stars musical director
Yeah.
at one point, and he passed away. What are your thoughts on him?
Good man, a great musician, very good. He lifted the band to another height, you know, musically and everything, you know. And then again too, he was another disciplinarian too, you know, being in the police force. Yeah, he was good. He was good. Up to now, the band has not done the things that he did. You know, things like classical jewels and these sort of things. You know, we need to do it again, and all that was because of him.
Did you maintain an active role in Trinidad All Stars after coming to New York?
Well, for a while I stayed away because due to pressure of we work up here. You know, I did went back when they had won the first panorama in 1973.
So when did you come up here actually?
71. And I stayed away from the band for a little while. And as a matter of fact, the first time I went back after was when I walked into the yard, and a few of the guys who knew me said, what's happening? And you know, and they came around me talking. A lot of the members in the band asking, who is he? Who's that guy?
2 years in your history.
You know? And about 8 years ago, I went down, and whenever I go down, they would tell me, well, if they win the panorama, it's the capital, you've got to play an iron. So a night I went to rehearse with them. So the night before the final. So they gave me this piece of iron and I did back to him. I played. And I came late for the next rehearsal. So they had put in a stop in the tune, but I didn't know about the stop. So I played, and when the band stopped, I still played the iron. So the guy who was in front, who was drilling the band, he said, who's that? Who doing that there? And they tell him, well, this Cap, he didn't know about this stop. Another guy who played the bass, well, where he was? Man, I get so mad. I put on the iron and just walk away. I had on a straw hat that they gave me. I took on the straw hat, I rip it up. You know, so they say, Cap, take it easy. The guy don't know. And they run to the guy, they say, you know what they just did? When they tell him he can't, they start apologizing. I said, look, take it easy. You didn't know what is going on. You had to go up in Savannah and play because you're 9 to the finals. I said, you just study your tune and you start apologizing. I said, let's forget it. So, you know.
Why haven't you been more visible in the New York Pan movement?
Well, when I first came up here in 1971, I started a band. And right after Labor Day, I'm going to rehearsal, hardly seen anybody. And it started to get cold, you know. People, you know, hardly coming out. So I said, look, now I have been through a lot in Pan that a lot of people don't know. For instance, like I said before, when we wanted certain pans, and this was even before playing songs on pan, we used to go with Brook and steal garbage cans and stuff like that. We also used to go down in the dry river, walk down to the end of the dry river. There was a factory that we used to go and buy drums there. The drums that I used to make the bass, the acoustic drums, we used to go and buy that there. Some of the drums to make the ping pong pan and the tenor kettle, we used to buy that there. So around 2, 3 in the morning, we would go down in the river there, right where it meets the sea. So if the tide is in, that water backing up into the river. So we walking through water, climbing up on the river wall, jumping over the fence into this factory and stealing the drums, you know, and bringing it back. I was burning pan, got wet, had rheumatism in my shoulder till a woman was telling the guys, look, this guy have tuberculosis, why are you around him like that? And there's a lot of things I went through in
the years.
So I told myself, look, I'm not going to leave after all these years. Because we're talking from in the 40s, and I appear now 1971 or 72.
To restart another fight to get.
Have any, heart problems. I've been through too much.
What was the name of the band that you started at that time?
Up here?
Yeah.
All Stars.
Okay, so there was.
I made 2 attempts. That's it. Even lately here. In 95 or 96. They came back again to me and said, Cap, look, we have a lot of old All Stars fellas up here, let's open a band. Because I've been, every time people meet me, they talk about having a band, and I keep saying no. But then they say, all you got to do is just come, be there. You could be the manager or whatever, you don't have to do anything. But we want a band up here. I said, I'll come. I went there the Sunday morning, and after talking with them, one guy handed me a cassette. Went in his car, put it in with some calypso playing. He said, you know what, we would like to have this tune for the road for Labor Day. Then he had another cassette with some tunes that Qualis had done. We have the different instruments with a different arrangement. He said, just learn it and give it to the band. And that, I agreed to that, and they just started to reel me. And after that, they wanted a bomb tune, they wanted a this, they wanted a that. And still, everything's still nothing really over, because right now, we don't have a band up here. There's another group who want to carry on and have All Stars. They call themselves Tasso, but we don't have anything to do with that band.
Tasso?
Tasso.
Okay. So basically, discipline is a problem.
Yeah. And you see, while we're in a basement, let's say this is the basement, and I'm showing you guys something. And there are certain people now who I want to give it to. So instead of me being occupied with the 2 of you, then this person is somebody who could catch it quick to show somebody. When I go up on the sidewalk, he's not there, He in a corner someplace smoking.
It's a different mentality.
Yeah, so.
Okay. What are the most important, the most pressing issues in PAN overall that you think need to be overcome? I mean, you've addressed one, discipline, definitely. That, and what else?
Well, PAN is being accepted worldwide, and still we have different stylings of the instrument.
Standardization?
Yes, you need that. You need that. You could almost say that the tenor pans have it, the fourths and fifths or whatever. But if you look at the bass, you'll get different stylings of bass. Guitar pan, and then now every tuner every tuner may have their own idea where they should place a note, other than where his placement might be better. So this is one of the things that they have to get together. I feel that the Trinidad government also, or the business community in Trinidad, not really helping. They're taking people from outside, from America, from other places, to do things with the instrument that is not being done in Trinidad. Look at Ohio, right? And you have people in Sweden, in Japan, all these places. What Trinidad doing? And it's their national instrument.
Actually, this is the year of the PAN, 2003.
All right.
More thoughts?
Well, yeah, you could say, because take for instance,
When steel talks,
let's say Pantry,
everybody listen.
or any steel band for that matter, because some is going in that direction. There's no longer pan should be, or the steel band should be like how it was in the past. For instance, I was the captain of All Stars. Eddie Manuel was the captain of Inventors. Tony Williams the captain of Stars. Fillmore Davidson, he was the captain of Single. You could go on and on. And the majority of the bands that the guy who was the captain is the guy who is the hands-on guy who could do almost anything. Tune, play, arrange and whatnot. So he becomes the captain. Now, steel band is not like that anymore. It reached a stage now where the pan men see about pan. You need people to run the band. Non-pan men. Or or ex-pan men.
We've heard that before so many times,
Right.
different people we've spoken to.
Let the pan men see about pan.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And that goes also to for pan people. Let them be as advisors or whatever. Get people who know how to approach the government or approach, because you're seeing too much things that is going on that is not right. And too many mistakes. Look like, for instance, this year. You're removing the band from Memorial Park, they put them one place, then they put the carry them back there. And every year is something.
The change in the approach, yeah. What do you think of pan-yard judging?
It's good for some, you know. For All Stars, it's alright. Let's say for All Stars, maybe Renegades and all these bands, because we have
the established bands.
Yeah, we have the area to accommodate people. You know, because if the bands are charging to come in, we could make some money. But the other bands who have a little small place, you know, take for instance band like Silver Stars and Inventors, you know, they have a
really
small
narrow,
area,
yes,
you know?
extremely small.
Well, it appears that the public like it in a way. They like the idea, you know, going by this band and following the judges and, you know.
Kind of like a pilgrimage
Yeah,
thing.
it's something new, you know.
Touching back a bit in history, Rudolph Charles, give us a little insight as to what the enforcement years were about. And you may have actually touched it a bit at the beginning. And also, you know, what Rudolph's role within that period was, and what are your thoughts on that?
He was a very forceful guy. He was a no
nonsense
man, you know. And I think he is the person responsible for chroming the instruments. He or somebody from Desperados, because I think they were the first bands that chromed the pans, you know. But he was good. He was good. He lifted Desperados from one level to the next now. You know? Guy up to this day, people have been talking and calling his name. You know, he was a good leader, very good leader.
When you started in Pan, you know, way back when, to the time that you left Trinidad, to the quote-unquote 2 false starts, you know, to attempt to lift Pan here in New York, what were your thoughts, maybe as a young man growing up, to where you hoped Pan would one day reach, based on what you saw was happening with it in Trinidad and where it could have gone, and to where it actually is at now? What are your thoughts? Has it achieved any of your expectations? Has it fallen short? Do you see any hope for the future?
Well, if you're dealing like from in the very, very early days, I would say that I never dreamt that Pan would reach where it is today,
From when you started at that point?
See, because people who never really knew what it was like to be there. Because you could listen to some old recordings now, and you would say to yourself, man, the Pan's doing real bad. But in them days,
that was excellent. Yeah.
People would say, boy, hear that sweet Pan. You understand? So, we couldn't really visualize this, you know, because once we sink a pan and we do what we have to do and we put in our note in it, as long as that note could stay while you're playing and not go out of tune.
That was an achievement.
You know, that was mainly the thing. Later on, then somebody would try to refine it, you know. But once in the early days that you could have played something and they recognize what is being played, whether the note might be a little flat or whatnot, you know, but that was good. Then it gradually started to get better and better and better. You know, it started from one pan to the next. For instance, when I used to play a pan that might be no more than about, let's say, 18 inches, and I put in a certain amount of notes into that pan, and I may want to play a certain song, but I don't have enough all the sharps and flats. So I would tune that or tap that note out or tap certain notes just to play that song. You know, so of course we didn't have the space, as I spoke about that, which remind me, I entered many competitions as a ping pong player. In those days, one pan like this. There was a competition that I entered in Trinidad. That I think it's the Monarch Theatre, the one that on the Eastern Main Road. Myself, Ellie Manet, and a few guys entered that competition. I played small pan, also at Ellie and some other guys. And then this guy came with a big pan. It was so huge that the theater was laughing at the guy. Everybody was laughing at the guy. Because we all stood up and played like this. He had us to sit down on a chair, put the pan on his knee, and play like this. They couldn't even see him behind the pan. It was a big joke. But wasn't long after, a few months afterwards, we all were using that very same pan.
Same diameter.
No, I'm talking about the regular 55-gallon drum pan. What are they using now? But in those days it was looking so huge that everybody laughed at the guy with it. But after that competition, everybody, including Ellie and myself, was using that pan because it had the space.
Yeah, the diameter was different in that one.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you know that Mr. Manet now is telling people he's the first person to experiment on that pan?
Mr. who?
Ellie Manet.
Okay.
Saying that he is the first person.
When actually it's that person who sat.
Yes, I was there.
In that theater.
I was there.
Okay.
Right? And you know, it so happened that fate had it that I was supposed to be in Trinidad when Ellie was in Trinidad. I had no intention of going. I went down there because my son, who lives in Maryland, he called me and said, Dad, I'm going to Trinidad, you know. I said, when? He said, I'm going so and so and so. I said, you know what, I'll meet you down there. And that was the same time they had the World Festival, the one before the one that they have here now. And Ellie was down there. I met Ellie the night in the festival, we talked and things. But the following, I think it was a day or 2 days later, he was on TV. And he was telling them he is the first person to experiment on that road.
With the 55-gallon.
And he was telling them a whole lot of lies too. So I got so mad, man. I called the newspaper one time. You know, I tell him, I said, look, Ellie is telling us a lot of lies on TV. I said, because the big pan that he claimed that he is the first person to experiment it on. I said, I was there. In the competition when the guy came with the pan, Ellie and I played a small pan. But it happened now that I was leaving the day after I called the newspaper. They printed what I said. And then he made some remark like I envy him or jealous or whatever, you know, or put your money where your mouth is. Do
you by chance know who that guy was, or at that point it was just another person who was entering the competition?
Well, I had talked about this also at Trinidad when they were on Edward Street. Because they had some meeting, there were a lot of the old Steelpan men and a lot of the guys was there, including this boy. He died lately here from didn't they say prostate cancer? And something Pan was his name. He from here at 16. Anyhow, there were a group of people from the news media, TV, radio, whatever. And we were all in different groups, you know, telling them what we experienced in the Steelpan. Sterling Betancourt was there, all those guys from Casablanca and whatnot. So after we finished talking, they huddled us together and said, well, look, we will ask you all some questions down here, we'll talk and whatnot. And the talk came up about Spree. I told them, I said, well, Spree was never the first person to play on a pan. And the guy name was Andrew Pan, Andrew the Lava Steve. As I finished talking, he backed up what I said.
Andrew the Lapa Steve did
Yes.
that. Okay.
He said he first saw me playing
A tune.
the pan. No. What he said is he came where I was staying. This was in Clifton Hill. And he took out the pan that I had underneath this bed and he was playing it. And I came and I saw him. But then he went and he made one for spree. Right? What I was saying is that he heard me and I made one for him. I don't know what he did for spree, but he said no, I didn't make it for him. He made one for himself. But the point is, he is saying he made one for spree. And what I will also say is when I made my pan, a lot of my guys was playing that pan before spree even had one to play. So how come he could be the first person? You know? And now coming back to the big pan, right? When I mentioned that there, I also mentioned that Eddie wasn't the first person. And there was a guy in the audience. The guy said, yes, I know the guy. He called the name, the guy name. He called the band that the guy was in. He called the song that the guy played. But after that, I forgot the names that was called, you know.
So somebody knows it.
I spoke to other people. I spoke to even to Kim
Johnson?
Yeah. Kim Johnson said that the guy name, and other people say that the guy name is Cyril Guy. They call him Snatcher. He living in Tanapona.
Cyril Guy Snatcher, so he was the one with that.
With the big pan.
And who sat on the chair.
Yeah.
With it. Okay.
You know.
Interesting. So, what do you think of the steel bands in New York currently? Those who you may happen to have heard.
Some of them is alright. You know. The best is, I think is right now is Kasim. You know, because they could be playing for, you know, whatever audience.
The repertoire is varied.
Right,
That's pretty good.
You know, and like they have they're well grounded, you know. The others, I as a matter of fact, I really don't go around steel band much up here. I really don't go around because I find that there's too many steel bands in Brooklyn because you know they have no place to rehearse and stuff like that.
Same issues as back in Trinidad years ago.
Yeah, no place to rehearse.
Hi, Mr. Jules. We thank you very, very much. When Steel Talks has been very pleased to have you here at the studios of Basement Recordings. It's been really good to have you inside. Good to have the historical documentation. Good to know why you've not been involved in PAN and the disciplinary aspects that are really important. Thank you for sharing with us, and we really would like to have you back again at some point.
Well, it's been my pleasure to come here and to give you all an insight of what my experiences with the PAN.
It's been good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
When Steel talks, everybody listens.
Because when they were arguing, and the guy said, wait until Sunday morning, until Monday and Tuesday morning, when we drop the bomb. That's the way it come out, you understand?
Oh, see now, I wish I'd gotten that part on camera.
That's in the 60s?
Well, yeah. Eric Williams, for some reason, he had liked All Stars and he had liked me. My reason for saying this is when our band was on Henry Street, All Stars was the only band that he allowed his children to play my singing. I remember we were going in the Panorama. In those days, it was the preliminaries. We were going on the track. And about 4 or 5 secret servicemen came to me. And they said that the Prime Minister wanted to know what's the route you're taking Carnival Tuesday night for the band. We were on Henry Street, so I told them, I said, look, we were near Henry and Duke Street. So I said, we're going to line up on Duke Street. We're going to go down Duke Street, down into St. Vincent Street by headquarters, because in those days, every Tuesday night we used to go there. So time I line up the band, they came, they said, where to put them was, it was supposed to be his 2 daughters and a son. But the youngest one, Erica, didn't come. She didn't came. But his son was there and the elder daughter. So I told him, I said, look, put them right in front of the rhythm stand. And, you know, the secret police, and then they're right there. And all the people now who in the band who recognize them only shooting and pointing, you know. So we went down Duke Street, well, you know, to say that the Prime Minister's son, man, he was high like a kite. He was drinking the rum, he wasn't even chasing. He pulled the pan, he pushed pan, he do everything. And when we swung down into Frederick Street, by the time we hit by the courthouse, they disappeared.